In the 19th century, photographers had to use large view cameras in order to make large prints. At the time, most prints were made by the contact method, so the negative determined the size of the finished print. This meant that landscape photographers carried cumbersome cameras in order to make many of their pictures. Many modern photographers have continued to use the view camera because it offers a number of advantages. First of all, the large negative captures more detail than the smaller negative. It also has a greater tonal range. That is, there are more shades of gray between pure white and absolute black. Even when enlarged, view camera negatives provide more detail and a longer tonal range than negatives made in smaller cameras. The view camera consists of a lens, a light-tight box, and a ground glass to view the image. The difference between the view camera and a 35mm camera is the negative size and the viewing system. The viewing system on a 35mm camera uses a mirror and a prism to view the image. With the view camera, you view the image upside down and reversed on the ground glass. The film is the same size as the ground glass. The film is loaded into the film holder in total darkness. Once the photographer gets ready to take the picture, he inserts the film into the camera behind the ground glass. To make the exposure, the photographer closes the lens, sets the aperture, the shutter speed, cocks the shutter, pulls the dark slide, and releases the shutter. After the exposure is made, the dark slide is reinserted, the film holder is removed, and the film is processed in single sheets in the darkroom. Here is the processed negative. To make a contact print, we place the negative in contact with light-sensitive paper in a contact print frame. And we expose light through the negative. The areas in the negative that are dark become light in the print, and the areas that are light in the negative become dark in the print. We process the paper, and we have a photographic print, which is the same size as the negative. Another advantage of the view camera is the ability to control perspective and focus by tilting the lens and the back of the view camera. Photographers use the view camera for a variety of reasons. We have with us several contemporary photographers. I'm Luther Smith. This is Skeet McCauley, Peter Ferriston, Francis Thompson, and Chip Pankey. When I first moved to Texas, I was really interested in the landscape, but I found that it was really subtle and the light was really beautiful. And I really felt that it was necessary to have a wealth of detail in the photographs. And the view camera really suited that need for me. It really showed the light. I was able to manipulate the negatives in a way that allowed me to make the pictures look the way that I wanted them to look. And it just had a kind of physical beauty that made the Texas landscape look the way that I really felt about it. I thought that was really important for me.
I use the view camera because of all of its inherent difficulties, I think. I like the sense of time that the view camera gives you, the peace and tranquility to make certain decisions. I like its cumbersomeness. I think it's a pretty elegant machine. And I like the fact that I can work in a solitary situation with the camera. I work in my studio and set up photographs that sometimes seem to me more or less like moving my furniture around. So you move things and look at them and move them again. And working with the view camera makes it very easy to do that, easier to do that, and even more solitary when you finally put your head under the black cloth and look at that door into summer. I like the view camera also because at the very last minute when you're making a photograph, you can't see what you're doing. And so there's always an element of surprise, even with the machine as precise as it is.
Chip, could you tell us why you use the view camera?
Sure. Initially, I used the view camera to find out what it was all about. I had never seen one before. And I was traveling across the United States, and it was nice to have a 4x5-inch image that I could go into the bathroom and make nice little contact prints with. And then I started making platinum prints, which is a contact print process, and moved up to an 8x10. And for the last, 7, 8 years, I've been using the platinum process. Until the last year or so, it's moved into color. But it was, the view camera was initially to find out what it was about. I don't think I use it. I think I use it now whenever the project or the picture warrants the view camera, and that's about it.
Well, I enjoy the way the view camera describes the space of the landscape also. I enjoy taking long walks with a 5x7 camera early in the morning or late in the evening when the light is coming in at a very oblique angle and serves its most descriptive function.
Skeet, why do you use the view camera?
I use the camera really very similar to the manner that I use a hand camera. I don't change much with the camera, although I will alter the horizon line every once in a while. I guess that's one of the ironic parts of working with view camera. The general perception of using a camera like this is that it's very complicated and complex, but it's really just a box with a lens on one end, and you just happen to manually adjust everything and manually put the film in and expose the film. It's kind of a subconscious way of working. After you work with it for a while, you become the automatic part of the handheld camera, more or less.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's a lot easier to work with than some of the cameras that you have to put up to your face. I really enjoyed when the first thing I noticed about it is that I could see the subject, and I didn't have to look through a little black rectangular box.
Although I have to say that I would love to believe that I was really facile at looking upside down and backwards, but I find that often I have a crick in my neck from trying to cheat.
Yeah.
And look at the image right side up.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
But
think
eventually
odd.
that kind of reverses itself too, because I never think about it being upside down and backwards anymore. But my brain, I guess, automatically turns it over.
That's true.
It's faster than a lot of people think. After the camera is set up and the film is loaded, and you're looking at the subject matter, you're pretty much watching what the subject matter is doing, and you can flip the shutter pretty quick, as opposed to a 35. At least I can get in the habit of fiddling with the focus, making sure all these rings are there, because you're holding all the things that change. And with the view camera, my hands are off and I'm holding the little button, and I'm concentrating just on the subject. So it's real fast for me that way.
Yeah, the view camera is also really wonderful in the sense that it's really not hard to work out the technique once you learn the basic darkroom skills. So you don't have to be a superb technician to use a view camera. You really have to be a superb technician to be a really good 35mm photographer. But a view camera, there's a certain amount of lackadaisical technique that works just fine, and the pictures still look really beautiful.
You know, I think there's something about the idea of having a single sheet of film that is very different, though, than shooting with a 35mm camera or a medium format camera. I was interested in the fact that maybe a lot of editing happens ahead of time when you're using a view camera, whereas when you're using a roll film camera, then you can make those decisions later by looking at the rolls of film. But it seems that that single sheet of film somehow becomes very important, and therefore probably we don't waste as much of it.
The other side of it is, since they're not attached to other negatives, you can throw them away if they don't turn out. You know, and so you don't have this huge archive of photographs that really aren't very interesting.
I photograph a lot of ritual behavior, and I store my negatives often singly. And when I go back to print negatives that remind me of the ritual that I had photographed, in my darkroom, in the solitude of the darkroom, with a large enlarger sitting in front of me in the red light, that single negative takes on the character of a ritual object. that reminds me of the event that I had photographed. I don't think that occurs to the same degree when the negative is part of a roll that is sleeved on a sheet in a box with thousands of others. The
I
5
agree
by
with you.
7-inch negative has more substance.
They're like little
printing it-
jewels, aren't they? I mean,
Yeah.
I know at least the ones I'm shooting in color, so that sometimes I feel like they're little jewels of some sort. Just something very precious and special.